Can homeopathy help with stress for cancer patients and, of course, their families?
I'm glad you added that part about their families, Janine, because of course it's tremendously stressful for family members. In fact, most of the remedies I'll be talking about are useful for family members as well. For example, the remedy arsenicum is for a wide range of fears and anxieties. Fear of death, fear of the physical suffering and pain that cancer can cause, financial anxieties, fear that the treatment will bankrupt the family, which can happen, even fear that the cost of treatment will cause the family to lose their home, which can also happen. You can tell when people need arsenicum because they're fretful and restless. They may keep repeating their worries aloud over and over, and you just can't reassure them. They tend to be all wrapped up in their own needs. And of course, the fact is that for someone with cancer, a lot of these fears are reality-based. Giving a remedy for the fear won't make the cancer go away. But people who need arsenicum tend to waste a lot of energy on this useless worrying. They can make a mountain out of a molehill with this catastrophic thinking. I've had clients who are multimillionaires who worry about going bankrupt and becoming homeless. So they're frittering away their energy, which could be better spent on some of your mind-body techniques that you've been talking about. And also, arsenicum is a great insomnia remedy. People who need it tend to wake up around midnight and stay awake until around 2 in the morning, often with their mind filled with worries. It's like they have the worries just going around and around in their mind. For anyone in this situation, not just a cancer patient, anyone with this insomnia after midnight, arsenicum is a great remedy. And of course, people need their sleep in order to heal. So that's another way arsenicum can be healing for a cancer patient.
Okay, so arsenic, isn't that dangerous?
Yes, arsenicum is made from arsenic, and no, it's not toxic.
Okay.
It conveys information to the body about how to heal. It doesn't contain arsenic itself as an active ingredient.
Yes, and you know, fear is probably one of the biggest stressors for my clients that have had cancer. Are there any other remedies you could suggest for fears and anxieties?
Good question. In homeopathy, we often have more than one remedy for a particular problem. It depends on how the person reacts. So gelsemium is another great remedy for fears and anxieties. And the person who needs it reacts by going numb, their brain shuts down, they get that kind of deer in the headlights feeling. In fact, gelsemium is often the best remedy for when the person first gets the diagnosis. People get overwhelmed with fear. They'll go weak in the knees. This is a very gelsemium type of reaction. My first homeopathy teacher used to describe how people would become cancer patients overnight when they got the diagnosis. He said, even if it later turned out to be a misdiagnosis. My first teacher was a medical doctor, Dr. Luke DeShepper, and he had a big practice in LA right across the hall from an oncologist practice.
Oh.
So sometimes patients of his would come in right after the diagnosis. They would go into the state of fear and trembling, of mental shutdown, unable to think clearly and make any decisions. And of course, you have to make a lot of decisions right away when you've just been diagnosed. These were patients he knew well, and he would see the change immediately when they got the diagnosis. And gelsemium is the remedy that he found worked for them. Another aspect of gelsemium, this is not just for cancer patients, it's for anybody who has fear of going to the doctor, fear of a medical procedure, even fear of going for a diagnostic test. Think of someone going through round after round of chemotherapy and just dreading it. Gelsemium could be very helpful for them.
Yeah, I've also known that many cancer patients, they're in a lot of pain, and when somebody is in chronic pain, they can feel really hopeless and helpless. And we talked about how that can certainly lead to depression and worse. So do you have anything for like these very extreme types of despair?
Right. Well, the remedy aurum, which is made from the metal gold, it may even be able to help with the pain itself, especially for pain from bone cancer. Aurum is used for people who are depressed no matter what the cause, but again, it's not the only remedy for depression. It depends on how the person experiences their depression. When they need aurum, there tends to be a heaviness. One of my clients described it as, she said, it's like walking around with a lead vest on. Also, people who need Orem will often say they've lost everything. It could be the loss of a spouse after 50 years of marriage. I'm sure you've heard stories of how one spouse dies, the other one very soon thereafter. It could be the loss of the family home or the loss of life savings, like in a Ponzi scheme.
So since we're talking about families, are there any other remedies that are helpful for families?
Actually, yes, there are remedies for what we call night watching, loss of sleep from caring for a very ill family member. The two remedies I'll mention are good for both aspects of night watching, the lack of sleep and also the worry about a loved one who's suffering. Cocculus is the first one I think of for night watching because it's such a powerful remedy for lack of sleep. So much so, we use it for night shift workers and people with jet lag, anyone who can't sleep because of a time change. The other remedy I would think of is causticum, and it's also good for lack of sleep, and it might be even better than cocculus for anyone really worried, just consumed with worry about a cancer patient. Causticum is one of those remedies for anyone whose energy is being drained by concern and worry about their loved ones.
Yeah, and you know, we were talking about that underlying emotional trauma that might make somebody susceptible to cancer. What about some remedies for that?
Homeopathy is great at addressing these unresolved emotional traumas, so it can play a powerful role in helping people to heal from cancer, but you need to go to a professional homeopath for that. In India, where there are hundreds of homeopathic hospitals and homeopathic medical schools, homeopathy alone is often successful in treating cancer. But in this country, we don't have the facilities that they have in India. Still, it would be helpful to use homeopathy as part of an overall course of treatment. People would need to go to a professional homeopath because for anything long-term, there are so many possible remedies.
Yes, well, it sounds like it's very specialized.
Yeah.
So how do people go about finding a professional homeopath?
Well, they can go to an online directory like homeopathycenter.org or, surprise, homeopathicdirectory.com. Actually, the best way can be word of mouth. You want a homeopath who gets good results and also is a good listener, a healing type of person. You might ask at your local independent health food store or ask another holistic practitioner like a chiropractor or a massage therapist. And also, when you call the homeopath to make an appointment, you should make it clear what you're looking for. Most homeopaths would not want to be the sole practitioner for a cancer patient. They would want to have a supportive role for a patient whose case is being managed by a doctor. I recommend that you tell the homeopath you're looking for emotional support while undergoing cancer treatment.